Hey, welcome to Algebrain. My name is Jerry Shadrick. These videos are designed for professional educators, young learners, adult learners, anyone who's interested in better understanding the greatest technology we've ever developed as humans, and that is mathematics. It will take you from counting to pre-calculus and really into a little bit of calculus. We'll talk about limits, continuity, the difference between differentiation and integration, and we'll explain it in a way that's really easy to understand. At least that's the goal. So, while I assume that most of us have a firm idea of what counting is, we're going to talk about our approach in the IRLM or at Algebra Institute, our approach to counting. So while we begin at 0, we technically don't begin anywhere because numbers are infinite. As you see in this symbol that I've drawn here, there's no beginning and there's no end. So 0 really isn't the beginning, 0's sort of the middle, but there's no middle because there is no end. So maybe we could say 0 is here-ish? I don't know. So it goes infinitely in either direction. So, in other words, if I count to 1,000, I am no closer to the end than if I counted to 1. Same in both directions. So why is this important to cover early on? We want to cover this early on because negatives can become an abstract idea that become confusing. I remember when I was in school, I one time wrote 3 minus 5 equals 2, and my teacher came to me and said, no, that's not possible. It has to be 5 minus 3. You can't do this. When you say no, can't, wrong, impossible, when you throw all these kinds of things at a kid, especially a young learner, it can become very confusing. But I knew intuitively that was a right answer. And I just didn't know why. I just felt like it has to be 2. And it's not that it's 2, but it is if we see, let's say, we have 1, 2, 3, and then we show that young learner 0 on the number line, and we see -1, -2, -3, and so on and so forth, right? And we say you have 3 and you went -5, so you're at +3. You went -5. Negative is this direction, so you're moving. This tells you the direction you're moving on the number line. This tells you how many places on the number line. So if it says 3, we assume positive, right? Because there's no operator required there. And then it says -5. We say, okay, so this is the direction we started in. This is the number in that direction we started in. This is the direction we're going to be moving. This is how many places that direction we're going to move. So we started here, as we just said, and then we move this direction, as we just said, and we're going to go this many places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it was 2, it was just -2. And now we can learn about something called absolute values. Right away we're teaching this young learner about absolute values. Absolute values simply mean how many places from 0. Which is really interesting because when you learn about absolute values in algebra, which is really entirely too late, like 6th or 7th or 8th grade, you shouldn't be learning about absolute values at that point. I mean, I think there's probably adults I've run into that are, by all accounts, normal functioning adults that if I said the absolute value of something, they wouldn't know what I meant. The absolute value is just what is the absolute distance from 0? 1, 2. -2 has an absolute value of 2. So this becomes a little bit confusing and abstract. So -2 has an absolute value of +2. It's still kind of wishy-washy in the mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to give another example to help now clarify this. So what we'll do is we'll say, let's imagine a ground level as 0. Then we start digging this hole. We have this tunnel that we've dug. And we say, we've taken all the dirt out and we've piled it up as we've dug, and here's what we have. Now on this side, we would say that this is positive, and on this side, we would say that this is negative. So we have negative and positive. Now, this is -1 meter, -2 meters, -3 meters. Here again is 0. Here's +1, 2, and 3, where we've piled that dirt, right? Because all that dirt had to come somewhere, and we piled it up exactly how it was in the ground. And so we say if we were standing on top of this pile, right? Great drawing, right? So here he is standing on top of the pile, and this is 3 meters up, and we say how high above or how far from 0 are you? How far from ground level are you? In a straight shot, you are 3 meters from ground level. Well, if you were standing down here, how far are you from ground level? As a straight shot, you are 3 meters from ground level. You wouldn't say I'm -3 meters from ground level, you'd say I'm 3 meters from ground level. And that's essentially the concept of absolute value. And once we understand that, we can see that we're intuitive. I was intuitive here. Oh, I was a genius. I was a brilliant young child, just like so many that have been told, no, that's wrong. And then these walls start to form in the minds of the student. And then when it comes time to actually come up with negative summations in algebra, all these walls are preventing that from happening. So this is the general gist of counting. So from day one, we can learn how to count positive and negative, and we understand the idea of infinity, and we also understand the idea of absolute value. And really, as we piled out this dirt, we learned an algebraic concept. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. All right, cheers.